How did I get into board gaming? Well, through Tom mostly. Just Tom had some games. Arkham Horror is what we played first, and then we went from there. Basically, Tom's story of getting into gaming is kind of my story of getting into board gaming. I never played board games before that. I played video games. So, yeah, that's how I got into board gaming. Not very exciting.
Didn't you have board games when you were a child, Rach?
Yeah, like
the usual board games.
Monopoly, Scrabble, Mousetrap.
Supermarket Sweep.
No, I didn't have that. You had that.
I think it might pick you up if I put it on here.
Maybe.
Still, every time I think. I wonder if just one of those simple little triangle things that you can get for a headphone jack might make this work. Who knows? But hi everyone. Mousetrap. Did you have Mousetrap, right?
Yeah, I just said Mousetrap.
Oh, right.
Yeah. But we always my sisters would lose the little pieces slowly but surely, so we had like an incomplete set.
Yeah, I think we probably had lots of different sets from car boot sales and things. I don't think we played the proper games of things. No. I remember not playing games properly a lot. Or I would play them on my own and just make things up.
No, one of my favourites was Kaplunk. Kaplunk was good fun.
Was?
But I was like 10.
And they used to have giant Kaplunk on the Crystal Maze. Do you remember the giant Kaplunk range?
No.
From Crystal Maze?
Oh, yeah, with the huge wooden pieces.
Yeah, Crystal Maze was a really good board game as well. Lost my copy of that, but I'll get a copy one day. Did we play it? Was it not? And you would shake little cardboard tokens out to try and see if you won the thing at the end. Just didn't match the excitement of the real thing. Sound went out. Oh no. We're hearing no audio. There's audio on here. Oh, there you go, never mind, back. What was that? Missed some amazing Crystal Maze conversation. Yeah, it's bouncing up and down on the the OBS thing, the software. The sound keeps bouncing up and down on there, but yeah, we have to have it muted so we don't know what's happening on YouTube itself. We have to rely on you guys. So I don't know why it wasn't there. So what have we been doing, Rach? What's the news? What's the channel news right now?
Well, we could just slide this along. And
will it be on screen?
Kind of lift it up. Because that's what we've been playing about 10 minutes ago.
Yeah, we are. How many games in are we now? We are about six, I think.
6.
Yeah, 6 games because yeah, you can work out how many games you've played. But yeah, that's the new legacy game from Inker and Marcus Brand. If you watch Rado, then you've seen he's done a run through for it already, and he's played through it. It's thanks to Rado that we've got a copy because we bought a German copy and he gave us the English cards, the English pasted up cards and things that he had. So we've kind of got between all of this, we can kind of have a more or less English copy of it. The plunger. Yeah, the plunger is really, it should not be that exciting to use a little cardboard plunger, but it really is. It shouldn't be like a plus point to the game. It should just be a part of it, but it is really.
Show everybody the plunger.
Yeah, go find the plunger. And have we got other games that I could show?
Possibly.
I think all of the games are off on the sofa. But we played A Thief's Fortune today, earlier on, which is the new game from Artipia. The Kickstarter for that's coming on Monday, so that's going to be kind of a short notice video. But yeah, we haven't had it for long. We've only had it for a few days. But we played a bit of that at the expo anyway, so if you've seen the expo videos, I talked about that there, really. But yeah, it's quite a cool, quick combo. Yeah, chain a load. Oh, there we go. There's the plunger. Yeah, it does work quite well on skin, doesn't it?
Does it?
I think so.
I didn't try.
Yeah.
I put it on my chin.
Yeah, it'll stick to. It won't stick to like paper and things, will it?
No.
But it'll stick to my. I've got a lot of scratches on my hand from Marty. Marty is going crazy earlier on, but yeah, it's very distracting, but really nice to have a plunger in a game because it's quite strange. If you haven't seen, I'd recommend that you go watch the Rado run through, or you wait for mine. Mine will be a while off though. I think it's a board full of hexes, like little hex tiles, but you have to use the plunger to get them off to change what you're building, to change it for yourself, rather than something like a Charterstone where it had all of the stickers that you put on there. So it's quite a weird. Yeah, here you go. Here's one of the tiles. No spoilers, but that's a demonstration.
Plunge
If you
them
couldn't
off.
imagine it,
Plunge them off.
yeah,
Plunge them right off.
and it's very satisfying. It's yeah, if the points and everything were enough of a reward, getting to use the plunger is definitely fantastic. We've got more people. Chris, hi Chris.
Hi.
I've recently got into the board gaming fraternity and have a decent collection of games, but my wife will only play Ticket to Ride Europe and nothing else. Any ideas how I can get her to play heavier Euros, or should I start a Kickstarter page for a new wife? I don't really know, because you were quite into playing games straight away, weren't you? You didn't really have to be encouraged.
No,
but we were doing it.
We started medium.
I suppose.
Straight into heavy.
Yeah, I suppose we were doing it at the same time. So, as we started off with all of those Ticket to Ride and Pandemic and all of the things that we'd seen on tabletop and other things we'd picked up.
But then
we kind of started up.
We went straight into Agricola then.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I needed to think of a birthday present, and I went on Board Game Geek into the ranked games. Number 1 was Twilight Struggle. I clicked on the page for that and thought, oh, this doesn't sound very appealing at all. And then number 2 was Agricola, and I thought, well, a farming game doesn't sound that appealing, but I'll give it a go.
Yeah.
And
I don't know, little things
from
like
there. But
Castles of Burgundy or something, not
there's
not mega like.
So that probably helped us, and you were quite. You never had to be coerced into a game of anything, did you? You're not as excited as me, but you were quite up for playing all of these new things. So I've not had experience trying to convince people of playing board games, but yeah, maybe. There's like nice like step up in games, isn't there? Like before you jump to the
ones that we might take to get to a gaming night.
Yeah,
if we're playing with people that aren't necessarily
gamers.
It's
like some of the Steffenfeld games. Like I'd say, Castles of Burgundy is quite a good step up game, isn't it? It's not crazy simple, but there's not so much going on that it's really overwhelming. There's things like, or maybe just keep going with more gateway style games until she gets more comfortable. If she is up for trying some things, like there's the escape games are really good. Escape Curse of the Temple, or the escape room games are all good.
The forbidden co-op games.
Yeah, the Forbidden Island, Forbidden Desert, and there's the Forbidden Sky is the new one that's coming out. That could be a good one to try. Yeah, it's just as long as, because even if it's if you like the heavier games and you're not as into the gateway games, at least it's something that you're playing together, and then eventually maybe it will progress from there. Or maybe something like Charterstone, if you've seen things about Charterstone and it sounds kind of interesting to you, the start of Charterstone is as basic as it gets, really, isn't it, for a worker placement game? And even by the end, it's maybe gotten to a medium weight game. Maybe by the end, it's definitely
not heavy.
No, definitely not. Even with all of the stuff that's going on by the end of it, it's still quite manageable, and it's kind of progressed you there as well. You've not kind of launched into the deep end. So and Rise of Queensdale maybe starts a little bit harder than Charterstone did, but it's still quite a. There's not a ton going on. That's going to be out later in the year. I think August is an English or a US version. I saw on Board Game Geek there's some disagreement, and there might not be a UK copy for a long time yet. But yeah, just try more gateway kind of games. There's the new Ticket to Ride card game that's just about to come out. But yeah, there's a lot of like you can kind of progress through a lot of games before you get to the really, really heavy stuff. Because if you just drop into the deep end, then something like playing something like Trois or something when you only play Ticket to Ride, it's going to be more off-putting, even if the person wasn't going to like the game in the first place. Andy, hi Andy. I meant to email you, Andy. We got your package with the
yes, thank you very much.
the print of the meeple. It was really nice. Thank you for that. This counts as that email. We'll just do it in public in front of everybody. But thank you for that, Andy. Really, really appreciated that. Because Andy won a remarkable glass cabinet thanks to Rachel. Rachel lost out on it.
Oh,
Rachel wouldn't have
let
us have. Rachel wouldn't have let us have it.
Once I got it home.
No. And what do we have to display? We could have put Marty in
Board
it.
games.
Marty has run upstairs, by the way. He was going to be a unwitting guest, but he took his chance when I went upstairs to get the charger. He saw his exit and dashed up there. I see Roombound on the shelves behind you. I've just picked up 3rd edition, secondhand with all the expansions. Yet to jump in this end. How do you find it? I think Roombound 3rd edition is quite different. It's definitely different designers, and it's keeping the same world, I think, and I think it's got the dice movement of the 2nd edition, but yeah, I think it's quite different from what I remember. I've only seen the Rado video for it, whenever that was, like 2 years ago, 18 months ago maybe. I do want to try it, because at first it seemed off-putting that just the base game had this, you flip discs to do combat, and you kind of, it's not a cooperative game, Roombound, but you are just working separately. You're not fighting each other. You're working separately, and then seeing who can defeat the big bad guy by the end. And in normal Roombound, well, 2nd edition, you have dice that you just roll for combat, and you're trying to beat certain numbers, standard dicey things. But in the 3rd edition, you've got these discs that change as your abilities change over the course of the game, and you flip those, and they decide what you can get to use. And when you're fighting a monster, another player has to take the place of a monster and kind of fight against you. But there is a co-op expansion for it that I really, really do want to try. But yeah, it's kind of a thing that's just, yeah, there's just so much going on that we never really get around to it. But I do really want to try that, because yeah, we've got the 2nd edition, and the 2 boxes are like, it's one of the huge expansions. And loads of the Roombound 2nd edition, even though we've got a ton of it, there's so much more. It's a ridiculous amount came out for that. But yeah, we've just got that. We haven't tried the 3rd.
No.
But I do like that. It's probably one of the most Ameritrashy games that we've got, for having, the dice combat and stuff. I do really love and it's still in the 3rd edition. I really love the puzzle of you have all of these movement dice that says the type of terrain you're allowed to move on. You roll those at the start of your turn and try and work out where you're going to be going. But yeah, for a solo game as well, it's not going to be an issue whether like you're fighting against a monster or not, because surely you have to do both sides. Does the solo come in the base game, or is that part of like the co-op expansion or something? I don't really know too much about the 3rd edition. It's kind of one that, we're not getting it anytime soon, so I won't learn that much about it just yet, but definitely one I want to try. Steve Ercolini, was Tricarian Dalgard's Academy the most involved and difficult playthrough you have done? It was certainly one of the longest. Yeah, I went back and looked at Colonists. That's quite early on into the channel. That was definitely in the first year, the first Essen I went to anyway, and that was, I think it was in 3 parts for each era, and they were about 50 minutes each. That's after editing, so definitely the longest. And I had to record that over, I think I did 2 eras in one night, and then I messed up the 2nd era and had to go back, and I did eras 2 and 3 the next day. So it was filmed over 2 days, and I think when I was releasing videos in parts, it took a few weeks for all of those parts to come out, because it was just huge. And I think even more than Tricarian by the end. I think people put comments on the part 3 that like you can kind of see my brain melting as I'm trying to make decisions for the players, because that's a crazy heavy game as well. That must be one of the longest games that we've got. Rach, do you remember the Colonists?
Yeah.
We haven't played it for a while, have we?
No.
Probably haven't played it. It's probably like a lot of games, we haven't played it since the playthrough. But yeah, that's probably the most difficult and longest one. But Tricarian certainly felt like it. But Tricarian kind of had the element of there was time pressure for it. We only had about a week and a half with the game to play it, and then film it and get it up when there's a hard deadline for the Kickstarter. So that always makes it more of a blind panic that I haven't got the luxury of releasing this in bits and bobs, or oh, it's not finished today, it's okay, it can go up tomorrow. No, for a Kickstarter, it needs to be up there the day of if you can. So I think while Colonist was longer and more difficult to film, Tricarian had to be done. Philip Dick, which do you like more, Role Player or Sagrada? Rach, which do you prefer? Can we hear Rach? You have to let us know if when Rach says something. My microphone's kind of just on my shirt, so it's hopefully picking Rach up. It's probably picking me up louder. Did you say what you prefer?
No.
What do you prefer, Rach?
Role player.
Role player. Why?
Just like the theme. Like the theme more.
Nothing to do with the gameplay of it.
You can choose like, I don't know, I can't remember the skills and things.
I probably prefer role player, but yeah, I think we've got them still. Sagrada's just by my head, isn't it? And role player's on a different set of shelves. But we haven't played the expansion yet for role player. I'd say
we did get it though.
Yeah, we picked that up at the expo. We haven't had a chance to play it yet. But I do, yeah, the theme probably even more, even though you are building beautiful little stained glass windows in Sagrada, I do like that it's like the process of rolling a character for D&D. And the
a little puzzle as well.
I don't know if I told you about this, Rach. I saw a game just went up. I can't remember what it's called, but it's a future role player thing for maybe a Kickstarter next year, where it's a game where we go on adventures with these characters, where you can either use characters you ended up with at the end of a game of role player, or you can start with some predetermined characters, but it's a different kind of game where you're going on adventures with those characters.
Sounds interesting.
Could be really cool. But yeah, there's stuff to fight in the Monsters and Minions expansion, I think. Yeah, down to the theme, and I do like the... Yeah, Sagrada's got some really good bits in it as well, though. It's hard. This is why I don't really do top 10s, because I can't really make decisions about these things.
No, I'm definitely 100%.
But yeah, role player probably, just for that theme, and you're trying to keep your... Not only are you trying to get all of the stats right, you're trying to keep your alignment the way you want it. You are buying those... You're choosing whether to buy the cards from the market, things like that. Yeah, I really, really like that. But Sagrada is a different kind of puzzle where you're... It's a different puzzle where you're restricting yourself more and more over time to, like, as you fill up your window, you can't put certain dice. You can't put identical dice next to each other or the same number next to each other, can you even? So you end up more and more restricted there, so it can end up being a bit more of a difficult puzzle maybe. And it's got the tools where you can kind of mess about with how you place dice. Really like Sagrada still. That's getting but I think the expansion for Sagrada is just, it makes it 5 to 6 players, and we'll add a few new things, but we're not really bothered about that. You don't need any more than 2 players, do you? But probably role player. And I imagine that will probably, as long as if the expansion's terrible, it won't knock role player down though, we just get rid of the expansion.
Yeah.
But I imagine the expansion is going to be good. I'm pretty excited to try it anyway. But that is a long way of repeatedly saying role player is what we prefer from them. What's your number one solo game at the moment? I haven't played a solo game for ages. I need to. I think, well, there's been talk of doing a video for Petrichor, which is David Turchi's game, and I thought, well, a few people had mentioned on the Kickstarter as well that they really like the solo videos, because I started mainly solo videos, and it's kind of drifted to mainly 2-player now. But I do still want to do solo videos. They're easier to think about, if anything, because you're just playing the solo game, you're not adding a second person onto it. I think the last one I played was the last solo playthrough, which was Gaia Project, which is a really good solo game. It had the Ultima Factory stuff. It was a bit of a shame that the Tricarian prototype didn't have the solo stuff in it, because I really want to see what they've done there. Because there's some cool sounding things coming out that all, it sounds like I'm paid by David Turci to mention all of his stuff, but he is just working on all of them, it seems. For Teotihuacan is coming out later in the year. Dice Settlers, Cerebria, the Tricarian expansion, they've all got solo variants designed by him. And we talked to him for quite a while at the expo, didn't we?
Man.
He's got a ton of games going on, but we talked to him for a while about it, and he is very keen on making them kind of not like proper opponents, but something to actually play against rather than just
Flip a card or
rather than just flip a card, or say something in viticulture where it's just draw a card, the AI takes that space, and now carry on, which is it's fine. But when there's something to play against, when there are kind of systems that you can game against, well, like Gaia Projects, the most recent Automa Factory game, there is a lot to think about in that, and the AI's deck is changing from round to round. It'll be different every game. It's different because the solo dummy player always gets to cheat in some way to balance out that they can't really think. But yeah, it's nice having something to play against like that. And their next game is what was it called? I can't remember Mind Clash's next game. It was something about you crash land on a desert island with the other players and start trying to build a little civilization. And then you find that the island is inhabited by dinosaurs. So now you have to defend your city against dinosaurs. It sounds amazing just based on that description. It's going to have little dinosaur miniatures. Getting off the track of solo games, but that's going to have a solo mode for it as well. But yeah, I want to try all of these things coming up. But I think the last solo game that I've played was Ganz Schön Clever. Mr. Cabbagehead's Garden. I played Ganz Schön Clever most recently solo though, so I was just bored, and it takes about 5 minutes to play a solo game of it, and I just wanted to play Ganz Schön Clever because it's really, really good. A video for that will be coming up. But yeah, Mr. Cabbagehead, I played the playthrough on my own, but we played that together, didn't we? As if we were solo. We did that a few times with like coffee roaster and things like that because it just works okay. But what did my number one solo game used to be? I can't even remember anymore. This is terrible. I should have just come up with an answer. But I would play things like, it would probably be something like Dragonfire if I was still playing more.
Gallerist you played at solo
I played
so
Gallerist
many
loads. I
times.
played Feast for Odin loads. Yeah, they're definitely up there. Gallerist maybe is the number one still because it's just amazing, and
it's
I
the
really
only way
like.
you'll ever get to play it.
Yeah, Rach doesn't really want to play the Gallerist. You'll come around one day, Rach.
No.
You love all of his games. But yeah, I think probably Gallerist then. We found an answer. How many more shelves do you... Have I missed anything scrolling down here?
No.
It's part of an expansion. Yeah, the Roombound thing to play it solo. So yeah, that's kind of another reason that we haven't got Roombound yet as well, because we'd have to get the 3rd edition and then the co-op expansion, and then there are all the little adventure packs. We want all of that stuff. Same for Dragonfire. Like, now we've gotten to all... We're still kind of halfway through the main story. We haven't gone back to it for a while, have we?
No.
But there are loads of little adventure packs out now, and there's the next one. I think the next one coming up is a little adventure pack, but after that they're doing a big box expansion for it as well. It looks like they've got a load of content planned for it, which is good because Dragonfire was awesome. How many more shelves do you have that we can't see? Well, for actual games that are in the collection, there's one more set of shelves that's just a normal.
Not this big.
No, just a normal sized bookcase, I'd say. Just a normal set of shelves, 5 shelves or something that's on the other side of the room. It's not a big Kallax thing like this, but that's got most of the small games on it, and some
huge
games. And the huge games are at the bottom. You know, the Lisboa, Gallerist kind of stuff, and then a few normal games wedged in the middle, like Role Player and stuff. And then there is a set of shelves upstairs that's kind of got the games to sell and the prototypes that have been filmed, and I haven't asked to send them anywhere. They're just kind of on that shelf. But yeah,
and there's just games.
Yeah, there are kind of games everywhere
Everywhere
at the moment as well. Yeah, we had kind of gotten to a point kind of where there wasn't that many piles everywhere, I think. But then we came back from the expo with some piles of games, and I'd kind of been keeping the Essen games that we still haven't done yet behind this table. So once we got those out, it's kind of a reminder now that, oh yeah, we really need to get this game done. But there's not that many games, is there? Not that many, Rach. We could always get a few
comments.
more. We could always get a few more. Number one solo for me is a tough call. Recently, Nemo's War. I've heard good things about that. Well, that's got Ian O'Toole artwork, hasn't it, as well, from the Gallerist, Rach, who does all of the Vital Lacerda beautiful games. Gloomhaven, definitely. If we hadn't played, if Rach wasn't on board with Gloomhaven, then yeah, I would have played a ton of that solo. But Rach loves it, don't you, Rach?
Yep.
Is it your number one game, though? Does it replace Trajan?
I think so.
So we're wrong when we say that Trajan's your favourite.
I don't know.
Love Robinson Crusoe. Looking forward to a new expansion. Oh, they're expanding it. That's good. It's good that they stay with it. I suppose they did a new version not that long ago. It's only a year or so ago. Detective is the Portal game that you want, though. Although we were talking to, I can't remember who we were talking to about that, saying it might be a little bit of a nightmare playing the new Detective, a modern crime board game from Portal. There's quite a lot going on at once, and you kind of assign roles to different people, all of which are kind of full jobs in themselves, as being the person that reads stuff out, the person that does the research on the computers. I was the person that makes the notes. That's probably the most demanding job, not just because I had
You're
it.
gonna have that job when we play it, because I'm not taking any notes.
It's not the most demanding just because I had it, but there are so many things to write down, and there were a few times where we had to go back to cards because, well, I suppose that's not going to change even if you had more people playing. There are things that you realise are important later on that you kind of glossed over and didn't make a note of at the time because it seemed irrelevant, but you can kind of go back and see, oh, I should have made notes about all of this stuff. Nobody asked about that, but we're really going to push Detective, aren't we, Rach? That's the point of this stream. Viewers will never click with me. I'm curious about Gloomhaven, though. Be curious about it. It's not all hype, is it, Rach?
No, it's a really good game.
Definitely. I suppose the only thing would be that I kind of agree with people that got disappointed when they were expecting a kind of D&D experience.
They never said it was going to be.
No, it wasn't. But I think that it's one of those things that happens, that people get these expectations in their heads of how big it's going to be and how expansive it's going to be. And it is a massive, massive game that focuses on, dungeon crawling and combat. There's a little bit in the overworld, a little bit of buying items, a little bit of interacting with the world, but 90% of it or more is in dungeons, fighting with an amazing combat system. And as long as you know that and you like the sound of that, then yeah, look into it more. Never say, avoiding saying buy it, Rach, no matter how much I might agree with that. I think that's wise.
Everybody should try it.
Yeah, if you get a chance to try it.
Buy it.
Well, it's on Tabletop Simulator. That I think at least the first few levels back from when the very first Kickstarter happened. I think there's some on Tabletop Simulator. It's not the best way to play a game, but you can just have a go. Forward to Dice Settlers. My playthrough will show you the prototype of it, and hopefully we'll do one for the final game. Maybe Ganshon Clever is amazing. It is amazing, isn't it? It has no right to be that good. The video's coming up for that soon. I should probably put a video up tomorrow or something. Maybe it'll be Ganshon Clever. What do you think, Rach?
Possibly.
What are your thoughts on iOS, Android, Steam versions of board game? For example, Seven Wonders, Le Havre, Pandemic. We like them. Don't really play them that often. They're good to have. Like when we went to America, I loaded up the iPad with everything that I could, and it was good to have them there.
Maybe if we did a lot of travelling.
Yeah.
That's probably when people would play them.
Yeah. There's not really a situation where we are kind of at home. Yeah, we would just play the board games. But yeah, there's some things like
tried them.
Yeah, we've tried most of them. I've just got Among the Stars. They gave me a code for the Among the Stars app game, so I'll be trying that out and seeing how good that is, because I really like Among the Stars.
Yeah.
I think, in terms of what is on my phone,
all things like we've got the Seven Wonders, Glass Road.
Yeah, we've got Seven Wonders, Glass Road, Agricola. Although I don't think we have got Seven Wonders. We've got the old companion for Seven Wonders that helped you work out your score and also had kind of an exclusive player board on it. But they have since done a proper version quite recently.
Through the Ages, did we have one?
Through the Ages, yeah. The
Galaxy Trucker.
Yeah, the Galaxy Trucker app is really good. They're kind of ones that I wonder with Among the Stars as well, because it's got a campaign. Galaxy Trucker had a really nice campaign that even though you're playing against AI, it was really cool to just have.
Kingdom Builder.
Yeah, the Kingdom Builder app's really, really good. And Kingdom Builder and Galaxy Trucker and things, they're things that you can kind of go on for a few. If you've got 10, 20 minutes to spare, you can kind of just play a few levels of that.
Jaipur.
Whereas something like Agricola, I don't know if I'd sit down for a full game of Agricola on the app.
I've got Jaipur as well.
Yeah, Jaipur is really good. A lot of these things are just kind of randomizers that I've got on my phone. But what have I
I
got
think
on
I've
here?
remembered a
Yeah,
lot of them.
yeah. Rach has
Somehow,
probably said most of them.
for
I've got
someone with such
Pandemic.
poor memory.
I think Pandemic was one to have just in case. It was on sale. If I ever see, if you follow Suzanne from the Dice Tower, you should follow her anyway. But she's always tweeting helpful app sales, and these things often go for 99p or something. So you see Pandemic for really cheap. I just got on it. I think that is it for
Can't think of
apps
any
that we've
more.
got for them. They're nice to have if you've got if you were away and couldn't take the board games with you. It's a really nice alternative, but I don't think there's any that we really choose to have on. Oh, the game. I've got the game on my phone. I think that's only solo at the moment. But yeah, that's a nice one to just have for a quick 5-minute thing or something. Andy, I'm waiting for reviews once it's out there for Detective. I pre-ordered First Martians and it didn't work for me. So despite my fanboy leanings towards Portal, I'll wait this time. Oh, I kind of went like that. I'm not really. Most of Portal games aren't really for us. They don't really excite me.
No.
You haven't seen that many of them, have you?
No.
But you weren't a big fan of Robinson Crusoe, were you? No. And neither of us were. That's why we didn't keep it. But yeah, I fell into the hype of First Martians and was very, very disappointed by it. But and we kind of thought, I know I put it in my top 10, but I was really trying to hold off being really excited about Detective. But we've only played, what is that, a sixth of the game what we played?
The advantage is that we've played it.
Yeah,
And
you can. It's hard, isn't it? Because
from what we played, it's very, very,
yeah,
very good.
the one case we played was fantastic, but yeah, I'll hopefully have played the whole thing by the time that I do a video for it, so we'll be able to give a proper impression of, because we saw. I think it's coming in July. Is when pre-orders come.
Then we can play. Try and get it all done.
But we were told things that would kind of happen over the course of many games. Things that happened in the demo that we played that might come back or might affect things in the future. Being as vague as possible about it, we obviously didn't see the results of any of that. Ignacy told us, okay, well this happens now and that might come back. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how that actually works and if it's good when the stuff does manage to come back. So yeah, even though I wouldn't say we own any Portal games actually. Pret-a-Porter, I really like that. But I don't think other than that we've got any Portal games really. And we were very disappointed by First Martians, weren't we? But yeah, despite all of that, Detective is its own thing, and it was really, really good. Galaxy Trucker is an extraordinary app game. It is, isn't it? It really is good, and it's not Portal. Why can't I think of the name? CGE. Just think of Paul Grogan, and you'll remember the name CGE. They do really fantastic rule books anyway. That are as well as teaching you the game quite well. They are silly and full of jokes and little references and things, and that carries over into the Galaxy Trucker app as well. The single player campaign for that, it's really, really good. And it's a kind of quick, nice, neat way of playing Galaxy Trucker as well. You don't have to desperately try and find people willing to play it for a start, and then have that mad sorting out of tiles and remembering where things came from. Yeah, our friends don't really like Galaxy Trucker. You aren't really a fan of it either, are you, Rach?
Real-time games.
Any real-time games?
I'll play them, but I'm not very good at them.
You like Fuse and Flatline?
Yeah, I do. Just
Mini B, hello Mini B. I was wondering what the first board games you have both played that started it all. Well, modern ones, it was Arkham Horror, wasn't it? I think. Maybe? Or did we play something else that we'd seen on Tabletop first, and then I remembered, I've got Arkham Horror from years ago, because I did have that earlier on. Trying to remember the order of things now. Had all of the board games when we were kids, all of the Monopolies and Paydays and all the things like that, Atmosphere, and then didn't play any for years and years and years. About 10 years ago, nearly, I went to a board game shop to buy the World of Warcraft game because my friends and I were all really, really into that. Played it, I really enjoyed it, they didn't. and I bought Arkham Horror. I can't remember why now, why I heard of it. Maybe I just saw it on a shelf and it looked interesting. I bought that and we kind of enjoyed that, but it just fizzled out. It didn't turn into anything. And then years later, probably about 5 years ago now, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I can't really remember the order of things. We started watching Tabletop and seeing these things and getting excited about the games they were playing on there, and we picked a few up. At some point, I remembered that I had Arkham Horror, and we played that with our friends as well, and they really loved that. And yeah, a lot of our friends got into board games then, didn't
we
they?
played like dead simple things like Ticket to Ride.
Yeah, basically anything that was on.
Carcassonne.
Anything that we'd seen on Tabletop, really, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And not all of them worked for us, but
and then
yeah, that was kind of the starting point.
For your birthday.
Yeah, I picked Agricola and really liked that, and that was kind of a leap into there. That was
stone,
yeah,
was, definitely.
And for everyone as well, because I remember I had the reaction of, well, I'm not really sure if I want a game about farming. That sounds boring, but okay, it's number 2, so I'll get it, and then really, really enjoyed it. I think all of our friends that played it had that exact same reaction as well.
Yeah.
They're like, what is this? I was fine with playing King of Tokyo or Small World or something. They sounded good. This sounds boring and looks boring, but yeah, they all really enjoyed it as well. But I think that's kind of the timeline of it as well, isn't it?
Mm.
And then around, I can't remember how far into it we were. There was a time when we started going to our local shop as well from time to time. We didn't really buy much, just looking at the crazy number of games. And then I remember when we went in, Five Tribes had just come out, and that was in there, and it just looked new and shiny, and I wanted it, and it looked weird. And then I remember we didn't get it, but I looked up videos for it, and that's the first Rado video that I saw.
Yeah.
Because his final thoughts for that was Five Tribes originally had slaves in it, slave cards that you kind of sacrificed to do things. I can't quite remember how you used them in Five Tribes, but yeah, you basically traded in slave cards, and it was weird. There was no need to have them in there. It was all a bright, shiny little game. But that was the first Rado video I remember watching, and he got really emotional and angry and talked at length about it. And I thought, I didn't know who this guy was. And I thought, well, there's a lot of weird issues going on in board games. I had no idea. I was just enjoying playing Takenoko or something. I wasn't enjoying playing Takenoko. Pandemic I was enjoying. Hi Dan. Hi Dan. What game are you talking about right now? We're talking about all of the new games.
Yeah. The first games we ever
played.
we're
trying to remember the first games that we played and how we got to this stage. I think that's pretty much the story of it. And then after I don't think I started watching him right away, but there was a point over those first few months when I started watching more and more and more Rado stuff, and then all of the Dice Tower stuff, and just watching everyone, and yeah, just buying them all. The boring looking one was Agricola we were talking about. I think pretty much everyone had the reaction that, what is this? But it's brilliant, isn't it, Dan? Dan's one of our friends. He played Agricola. I don't think we played it for a long, long time. But yeah, we then after we started, I started realizing that we didn't really like games with conflict in, and Rado, that is his thing, isn't it? And we were pretty much playing mostly 2-player, and that's his channel. So yeah, then we fall down like the Steffenfeld and Vital Lacerda and Uwe Rosenberg, things like that, and yeah, just went through a like a lot of people, I think they end up with a ridiculous spike in buying board games while it's all new, and then now I think I've calmed down a little bit. Haven't I, Rach?
Possibly.
Have I calmed down? I think it's not as bad as it used to be for the amount of games that come in. Hi Dan. Hey Tom, probably answered this already, but what happens if the Kickstarter doesn't meet your goal? I haven't mentioned that yet, actually. I was supposed to mention that at the top. So yeah, the Kickstarter, what is the Kickstarter on now? It's got 3 days left, I think. It finishes at 6 p.m. on Tuesday, and we're at 4,000, 3,997 now. That's just gone up recently. So it's short of the goal quite a bit, and I think, yeah, even if we get a kick in the last 48 hours, I think Kick Track is now not projecting it to have funded. And we were kind of thinking, yeah, based on the early on, it wasn't looking good. Not to be pessimistic about it, it could still reach it, couldn't it? Maybe if we get some anonymous huge benefactor right at the end. But yeah, it's very unsure what happens after that. Like originally, it's kind of it's a difficult situation really, because obviously I want to keep doing it. I want to keep making these videos, and yeah, I've started something and grown it for this long, and it's kind of accelerated beyond the time that I have to make it now. And the Kickstarter goal is kind of risky to set it that high in the first place, but at the same time, I knew that that's what it needed for me to be able to keep making it like this. So I don't really know what happens after this. We've got like ideas, but not really anything set in stone, because there are things that maybe the things that I wanted to stick with aren't as important if it means keeping the channel going. Like, I'd always been really against having adverts on, and I don't really know if it's even worth turning them on for, I don't know, the amount of money that it would earn the channel, if that could make up for something. Maybe since it's still growing, maybe the channel just isn't big enough to be able to reach that goal. Well, that it seems like that might be the case based on the amount that we're at now, and maybe it needs to go to something like a Patreon, where even though you are kind of guaranteed to have less money there, at least it could grow and turn into something, because the options are kind of stop altogether, which I don't really want to do, or you do another Kickstarter campaign and set the goal lower, but then that doesn't really solve the problem of being able to earn enough to be able to do this at least kind of part-time, rather than, you know, being up late editing videos most nights to try and keep up with it all. Or I can't remember which options I said now, but or you go to something that is ongoing rather than just a one-off campaign, which is a shame. I do like doing the Kickstarter. I do like that it's kind of this event thing, and that you offer all these things for a limited time. But at the same time, people do then throughout the year say, you know, can we support the channel in some way? And you have to go, well, you have to wait until, you know, next June for the Kickstarter. So it's nothing's really decided, and yeah, I suppose there's still kind of hope for the Kickstarter, although yeah, even the tracking websites are saying, yeah, it's now we're not projecting you trending
we've seriously had to consider Patreon, haven't we?
Yeah, because it's definitely got its plus points. The negative points, I didn't really do a poll or anything this year. I remember last year when I was going to do the very first thing, I asked people that watched the channel to give me feedback on funding, on crowdfunding, and while there wasn't a huge number, there were enough people that said that they didn't like the idea of Patreon. They didn't want, they just they weren't interested if I did it that way. And nobody thought that way about Kickstarter. Some people would say, well, I think, you know, for the channel that you are, maybe Patreon's better, but I would go to Kickstarter. But there were definitely people that were like, I'll definitely back on Kickstarter, but not at all on Patreon. Maybe that's changed a bit now as well. Maybe with the number of people that are using Patreon now, the number of other, you know, video board game YouTubey people are using it. Rado's on there now. You got Heavy Cardboard, John Gets Games. They were on there for ages. Actual Lol has done it in the last year. There are quite a few on there now that are doing it very well. And when you look into it more, like I'd seen the people on there, and I'd back a few people on there, and it seems like a nice little system. But when I've looked into it more, it is nice to. It does seem like you can have more of a community going on there, because you can make posts about the videos that you're putting up that people can comment on, even though, you know, they can comment about the videos on here. You can have the polls on there. You can start little discussions on there. There are like options of, you could start a Slack channel or something like that. It's just, yeah, I think using Patreon, some people will be put off by that. I don't know if there's as many as there would be last year. And maybe not for the website, but the paying monthly for something rather than just having a one-off thing. It means that even if you set rewards that are $1 a month, that's still higher than the lowest rewards that the Kickstarter had. So there are changes and all sorts to think about with that. It means that things end up more expensive and you've got a monthly outgoing thing. But there's the option of that Rado did his, and when he started it, he had an option where you could do a PayPal pool. If you didn't want to pay monthly, you wanted it to stick to the way the Kickstarter used to be, then you could donate through a PayPal pool. I could hopefully set something like that up for the beginning, where maybe people that really don't want to go the monthly route could just do it just the same as Kickstarter, but then you don't get to join in on the page, and yeah, there are a lot of pros and cons of everything right now, but yeah, it's all kind of up in the air about. I definitely want to carry on doing it rather than just drop everything at this point, especially when there's some really good things coming out, and I really love making these videos. And even though it is kind of crazy how much time it takes up, it's eating into even playing the games, making their videos for them. But yeah, it's a shame that it's not. It's a shame if it doesn't fund and we don't get to carry it on the way I wanted it to, and to be able to take the days to do it, and bring back all of those things that I mentioned. We can hopefully do these more regularly, but yeah, I was hoping that we would hit things for get equipment to do live playthroughs, get equipment to do static cameras, because I know some people can't watch these videos because they're all shaky cam and going all over the place. There are a lot of things that we wanted to add to it, so it would be a shame if we don't get to do that. But hopefully, if we did go to something like a Patreon, then it could hopefully grow enough that maybe we would reach the Kickstarter stage at some point. But yeah, it's all very uncertain and up in the air right now. But hopefully, yeah, if you haven't seen the Kickstarter, there are links everywhere for it on the videos and things. You would probably, if you already know about the Kickstarter, then you would be sick of me mentioning it now. But yeah, cheap plug, I'll put it in the chat in case you haven't seen the page. It highlights my name. But yeah, that's a long way of saying I don't know. There are a lot of options that we're thinking about. We're kind of leaving it more towards the end as well. Don't give up on it so soon. But yeah, I've had some ideas as well. If we had a Patreon where you could get something sent to you as well, kind of regularly. I like the idea of that.
Surprise.
Little sneak peek if we did that. But maybe the Kickstarter will fund. If you've got a spare £2,000 and you really love videos, then there's only one place for it, really, isn't there? What is the latest game you played? We played Rise of Queensdale.
1 hour ago.
Yeah. Just before we started this, it was quite a quick game of that as well.
It didn't take very long.
The new legacy game from Inca and Marcus Brand. Well, their first legacy game.
A special plunger.
Beautiful plunger to get all of the tiles up. And we went on about that earlier on in the live show. If you did come in late to this, by the way, you can always scroll back after we finish and see everything that you missed. But yeah, we went on and on about that. It's early days yet, isn't it, Rich? What are your first impressions of it? Because you're never going to give your first impressions in a video.
It's a very good game.
It's very good. That's all you're getting.
Lots to do.
Favourite party game?
Oh, Time's Up.
Time's Up.
100%.
You're going to say Time's Up, Rich.
I'm rubbish at it.
You hate Time's Up.
My favourite round is the round where there's only actions.
Yeah, Time's Up is probably head and shoulders above everything else. It's not like a really unique system. There are a lot of things that do it, but cards that have a name or just a word or something on them, and in the first round, say anything you like. You just can't say that word or anything that rhymes with it, and your team has to guess, trying to get as many right as possible in the time that you've got. And then we've gone through all the cards. We now go on to round 2. Now you're only allowed to give one word and some actions, and the same clues go around.
It doesn't suggest definitely do the actions, but it's like a little hint that maybe you should start doing some actions, because in round 3 you're not allowed to say anything.
Yeah, and that's where it gets really ridiculous, because often you haven't come up with any good actions for things, and you just have to make them up now that you're not allowed to use words, and it's more difficult than ever.
Like a few of our friends will just quickly say one word to do with it, and then they're like looking at you, waiting for you to say what they want, and they forget to do any actions.
I've had some really great.
So the third round's normally quite funny.
Yeah, and then there's a fourth round that we've never actually done where...
I think we did it once.
Did we?
I think we tried to do a few.
But now you're not allowed to do actions even. You've got the person that's guessing closes their eyes, and you as the clue giver get into a pose, and then you tell them to open their eyes, and you can't say or do anything, and they've got to get it from your pose. But yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. We don't play that many party games, do we? But that's one of the best. Telestrations is really fantastic. Pictomania only goes up to 6, but that's probably the best drawing game.
We always get roped into playing like social deduction games.
Yeah, we don't really like anything like the Resistance or Avalon, anything like
around.
That. Yeah, but we played When I Dream. That was probably the last party game that we played. I really enjoyed that. Like, I thought it sounded cool, but after playing it, I even mentioned it in the UK Games Expo video just because it was really good. It's definitely worth checking out. You even get to put a little sleep mask on. What about Patreon? Maybe. You're welcome, Mini B. I will answer any questions for this period of time. With Patreon, please don't stop making videos. Hopefully, it won't come to that. Hopefully, either somebody swoops in and saves the Kickstarter, or we'll do something else even better.
Hi, Harry.
Hi, Harry from Canada.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be a shame if you gave up. It would be. I think it would be a shame as well.
Bye, Andy.
Andy, I'll head to Kickstarter later. Bye,
Probably
Andy.
already gone.
Thanks for coming in. Yeah, it's taken us a while to scroll all the way down to this little bit, hasn't it? Harry, do you play Roombound 3rd Edition? Well, the short answer would be, after we're finished, go back.
About 40 minutes.
Go back about 40 minutes, and we talked about it for a while, but we haven't played the 3rd edition. We've played a lot of 2nd edition and the various expansions and extra bits that are on there. Really like that, but I think that 3rd edition is quite different.
I think what we need to do for the next Q&A is rearrange the games so that every time
so you can see different things.
Different games, and we don't.
Well, I was thinking that
I
was thinking that just for the shelves in general. Yeah, because Roombound is pretty much
every time it's been
that cube is
Roombound,
cube is pretty much what you can see. Nobody asks about New Amsterdam. That's really good.
Somebody should ask about this little mankind teddy here. I think that's quite interesting.
Yeah, he's propped up in the videos. No one's. It's probably been noticed, but people have been indifferent. Where's Bob Ross?
Bob Ross is down
Bob Ross
here.
is behind me somewhere.
He is.
I was thinking of rearranging the games just to have some different stuff on there, because when I look back on, there's some videos that are supposed to be coming up that I never get around to editing. There's some now that have been sitting around for ages and ages, and I saw one the other day on the editing program and saw all the shelves all different, and they change when we've gotten rid of games. And like when I needed to make space for Gloomhaven, which is the thing that my head is covering up. One cube just for Gloomhaven. But yeah, we should probably refresh it. All of these games up here never get seen, but there's some really great ones.
Or just take a picture of another cube and then like stick it on the top of that cube.
Or just blue screen.
Nobody will ever know.
Or maybe we get a green screen and just put us in Hawaii or something like that. Raise my pleasure. Thank you for raising your pleasure level. Every little will help, hopefully. Yeah, Bob Ross is supposed to be quite prominent in the videos. And I've got some Wild Wild West figures somewhere. Get one of those. Get Jim West up there.
We've got our Twin Peaks figures on the mantelpiece.
Yeah, they're in pride of place.
Pop them on there.
Of Cooper and Audrey. Don't move Bob Ross though. He's more prominent now, isn't he?
I've moved him where we can all
He should be next to his game, really, shouldn't he? But then he's kind of off to the side. If you were going to play a game today, which one would it be? Do you mean, like, if we could go back and play an old game? Or which game do we need to play? I'd say, Rach, if you could go back... If you could play anything...
You know what I would say.
What?
I don't know. I would say.
You don't know what you're going to say.
What do you want to play? That's what I always say.
Yeah, that is what Rach would say.
Because I would rather you play something you want, because you never get to play what you want. But then you say, I will play anything. Not
I think
helpful.
would we play?
Any game.
I think if we could just play anything for a day, then I'd
Gloomhaven,
want to go back and.
Gloomhaven.
We haven't played Gloomhaven itself for ages now, but our particular 2-player campaign we haven't played for probably a year, more than a year, because our friends, Dan was one of them. Our friends were interested in trying Gloomhaven. We found a way of splitting it all up and starting a separate campaign while keeping ours, and then we played our campaign for quite a while. We kept it up pretty regularly for ages,
like
didn't we?
50 games.
Yeah, we played it. Oh, our 2-player one.
Yeah,
we played our 2-player campaign ridiculous. We played it every night for a bit, didn't we?
In there.
Yeah, so we've we've got 2 unfinished campaigns at different player counts on the go. Even though you're not supposed to do it that way with Gloomhaven.
In fact, there's even still 1 or 2 characters that I haven't seen yet.
Yeah,
you know what they are. I don't know.
Yeah, at this point, I've kind of seen through solo booklets and all of that stuff. I've seen other stuff. We will go back to it. It's just that it's not one. Queensdale is kind of like that as well, where the time that you take to set it all up and get it out and get into the mindset of it.
Today,
you don't just want to play one game and then put it all away again. If you're doing a Gloomhaven, that was kind of when we played 4 players, the games suddenly start taking a lot longer. And yeah, we could only really get 1 done in a night. I think maybe a couple of times we got to do 2. But when we played it 2 players, we would set aside we would do 1 a night. I think we would leave it it was on the table for a couple of months.
Didn't manage to completely mess it
up. it only had to it got moved to the sofa. The bits that we kept out got moved to the sofa when I had to do a video, and then it came back because we were playing it so often. Whenever we didn't need to play a game for a video, we were playing Gloomhaven.
At the moment, it's kind of like, oh, what we're playing this weekend, Tom? You're like, well, we need to play this, this, and this.
Yeah,
we need to do these videos.
We'd about reached a point where, okay, we can there are still a few games we need to play, but we can bring free choice back into it a little bit now. But I think in the last week or so, suddenly that shifted gears back into, oh no, we really need to catch up on these things. But they are, at the same time, they're really fantastic things. Like Thief's Fortune, we played earlier, was really good.
And it was pretty quick, really.
Yeah, it was quick. Queensdale, I'm really, really enjoying. It's really early on into it. I think it goes up to like 20-something games a campaign is of that. So we're really early on into it, but I've been really enjoying it. Jetpack Joyride is one that we need to do. Played that at the expo, and it was absolutely fantastic. And we've got the prototype of that to do a video for. But that's we've got a little bit of time for that. Ruthless. I just got yesterday. That's the new game from Alley Cat Games. It's a pirate-themed deck builder. Sounds pretty cool.
That's pretty good.
And there's a Kickstarter called Dominations as well. I'm not sure if there's much information about this out there. They were at the expo, so maybe you saw them there. I remember it's a civilization building game. There isn't conflict where the players are fighting or destroying things from each other, and you are building your civilizations with these cool little triangular tiles that you are tessellating. Is that what it is, Rach?
Yeah.
What's tessellating? It's a word that I know that relates to tiles, but maybe we're tessellating them.
Together.
We're doing something with them anyway to build up our civilizations. That's one that we need to get played. And then we didn't really pick things up at the expo like maybe we would have at Essen or something like that. There wasn't really much new stuff we ended up with, was there?
This year.
There's the game I can't pronounce, the Quacksalber die Quadelberg.
The quacking game.
Yeah,
nothing to do with
I can't quite remember the name. Never mind try and pronounce it. But that won the first June vote. So yeah, so
Thanks,
we need to play that and find out what it is. Well, it won the Kennis Spiel. I think that's kind of it. Didn't win it.
You're voting,
it's nominated. I don't know what won. Yeah. Well, you should. Rach thinks that she should get a vote in the Kickstarter
100%.
votes too.
I support you in it.
Harry. I said hi.
I did say thanks.
I said thank you to that. Yes, thank you to anybody that raises pledges, anything that helps. Harry, out of curiosity, do you guys watch football? Any football club near your area? No, I really hate football and most sports, really.
Yeah, my parents are mad.
Yeah, Rachel's family loves football.
We live in Stoke-on-Trent, so we have Stoke City right by us.
We have Newcastle
Port
Town,
Vale,
Newcastle Town Football Club.
Yeah, Port Vale's also here. I used to watch football, but gradually grew out of it. My sisters are still football mad. But luckily, don't have to unless I go round to visit my parents. I normally have to watch the football then. But with the World Cup near, well, it's happening right now. In my class, 'cause I'm a teacher, we're doing a World Cup sweepstakes, so I'm getting a little bit into football, but not that much. They can tell me all the scores.
What country have you got, Rach?
Well, in the workplace sweepstakes, so where all the teachers and the people that work at the school, I am Colombia. And in the classroom sweepstakes, I was Saudi Arabia. So my class were in hysterics yesterday when they told me that they'd lost 5-0. So they really loved that. So I'm not doing very well in the World Cup so far.
Football.
But it's very strange because the class that I teach, they are 7, 8-year-old children, and some of the children in there, they know these footballers, they know what teams they play for, they know what international teams they play for, they know the teams to root for, they know which teams are going to be not very good. It's dead bizarre. I don't know anything about football, so it's very strange for them. They are teaching me. But yeah, that's the information on football.
That's everything we know about football. The Adam and Joe Footy song is all you really need to know about football.
But that does answer the next question from Aiden of what do I do professionally? I am a school teacher.
I work in a record shop and do all these videos I think what's semi-professionally if the semi part is quite small compared to your other profession. Altiplano, does it get a bum rap because of its relationship to Orleans? Is it worthy of more praise? I think so, yeah. It's another one where it kind of happened. I think it kind of happens just because there are so many things coming out that you can't really keep track of everything, so you kind of latch onto these things that you've heard or things that people have said in press releases and things. So I think it happened maybe to Transatlantic a little bit as well this season, just with its relationship to Concordia. Oh, it's the next game from the Concordia designer, and it's really similar to it, where actually it just shares a mechanism. Altiplano as well, it's a bag builder.
Yeah.
Is it similar to Orleans in any other way than that? Because
a little bit, maybe, like the look.
Yeah, the
art, general layout.
Well, the art's Clemens. The art's Clemens Franz again, so the look's kind of
paste your tokens
similar
on those circles, but that's about.
Yeah, it's got a similar thing where you are drawing the tokens from a bag, and then you've got your action board that you're placing them on. But I'd say other than that, it's not very similar to Orleans at all. And we were kind of surprised because, yeah, you're going through all of these, especially with something like Essen, where the list is 1,000 games, and I'm trying to scan through this to be able to make a video talking about these games I don't really know that much about. And you kind of latch onto these little sound bites of, what's Altiplano? Oh, same designer as Orleans, and I've heard that it's quite similar. So you just end up saying that. And I think a lot of the other board game people end up doing that as well. So these things go around, like Teotihuacan has, that the soundbite for that is spiritual successor to Zolkin. And I'm not being critical about that. I said that about 1 million times talking about it. Whereas now that we've played it, it's actually got very little to do with Teotihuacan. But I do like Altiplano. You're trying to get goods on it. You're trying to obtain goods and upgrade them and put them in your warehouse if you want to go that way, or fulfill orders and things. But we haven't played that for quite a while, have we? Yeah, Essen's so far away all of a sudden. But I really like it and think that it's its own thing as well. It's not got that much in common with Orleans, and I think maybe it's been compared too much with Orleans because of that relationship that everyone had to it going in, that they were expecting it to be more like it, and it's not. Maybe that was a bit disappointing, but I thought it was too different to be comparing it to too much, so I really enjoyed it. And we've kept it. There aren't that many games from Essen that we've ended up keeping, really, are there? Not that many. Compared to how many we brought back anyway. But Altiplano is definitely one we've kept on. So we are. Altiplano. Why does Australia suck? Does it? I have no information.
Confusing.
Maybe he really likes. Maybe he really likes New Zealand.
Maybe.
Stuart Platt just bumped up my pledge. Thank you, Stuart.
Oh.
Hopefully we get there. Yeah. If everyone pledged twice as much, then we would have twice as much money. Dan, it has little crates. That is another plus point for Altiplano. Orlean does not have little crates, which is good because nothing would fit in the Orlean box. But yeah, it has beautiful little crates. That's a little plus point for Makata as well. That's a nice board game with little crates for things.
Let me out.
Rach has had enough.
I need the toilet.
Rach has had enough of your questions. She is offended by the notion that Australia
I can't believe Australia
isn't great.
Does not suck.
And she's not having any more of this. Where are we? Has crates. It does have an amazing first player marker. It's got a lovely little cardboard alpaca. It's an alpaca, isn't it? Thanks for us put off the rails, by the way. Yeah, we didn't come over, did we? It's another booth that we thought, yeah, we need to get to. We keep walking past it. Same with Dragon's Dawn and a load of other booths at the expo. Sorry about that, Stuart. We meant to come over and say hi. But yeah, check out Off the Rails. I did a playthrough for it, everyone. You've seen it already, I'm sure. But yeah, give Off the Rails a look. As you can see the final thing now. I just did a prototype video for it. But I'm glad to hear that you sold a lot of copies of it. David, Transatlantic suffers from Concordia comparisons. Yep. David doesn't else you go tell. There's some Australian versus Australian business going on in here. I don't know. Someone might ask this question: how did you guys get into board gaming? Yes, we did answer that. I think maybe I need like an FAQ page for that, but my recollection of it is so kind of hazy and fragmented that it wouldn't really work out as a good FAQ. But yeah, the long answer for it, after we finished, you can go back at some point earlier in the video. We talked about it for ages and ages and ages, but the short story of how we got into the modern kind of board games is mainly from watching tabletop. Mainly, that's how we started, and then ended up falling really, really deeply into it and buying a ton of different games, figuring out what our tastes were, and then going crazy for it, getting all of those lovely Euro-y games. Rach is knocking everything over, trying to return to the Q&A.
It was just a few games.
Here she is.
Nothing too much.
They're the tiny post-Essen games. Thinking that we need a way to. Yeah, I feel really bad for not necessarily the ones that I bought, but the ones that we were given as review copies that we still haven't done. It's been so long since Essen now. I need some kind of. I don't know.
The next Essen.
I want to do proper videos for them all though, and there just isn't time to do them. But maybe I need to do a. Like, Rodo's got his rundown thing now where the games he doesn't get a chance to do because he's cut down the number of videos, he can do quick things for. Maybe I just need to do you do a compilation video maybe of these are a load of playthroughs that I'm not going to get to do for ages, or maybe at all, just to kind of catch up on it all. Because that is kind of it's not a terrible thing, but it's kind of a thing that kind of weighs on you of, oh, it's been so long since we got this one, and things just keep pushing their way in. But to be fair to them, they never got voted for. I put Dragon's Gate College and Master's Trials and all of these things in the votes so many times, and not necessarily people didn't want to see them, but people wanted to see other things a lot more. What do you do with games that you no longer have an interest in, and how do you decide which games to get rid of? We sell them. Most of them. If we get sent something and a publisher wants it to go somewhere else, then fine, I'll sort that out. But yeah, if we've bought any games that we've bought that we don't really get on with, it's more now that I used to want to hang on to more that I liked, but more and more, if Rach doesn't like it, there's no point hanging on to it at this point. There's some that I kind of cling on to that only I like Trois and Agricola, but they are kind of exceptions in general. Try and stick to. If one of us doesn't like it, it's not really worth hanging on to because there are so many that we've got that never get played that we both really like that, yeah, we might as well.
Yeah, that's how we decide how to get rid of them.
Yeah, just anything that we don't both. I don't know about totally approve on. There's some that I like more that you don't mind.
I think as well, sometimes we think we haven't played that for a long time and we're probably not going to play it again because there's this other game that has similar mechanics or similar things to it that we would just prefer to play, so there's no point keeping it.
Yeah, and all those things that we haven't played this for years, and I don't see. I haven't really got the interest in going back to it now, or maybe we'd realise from going back to looking at something that I don't think it's happened for a while because we haven't really gone back to games. But there have been old games we've gone back to. We've been like, oh, God, I don't remember it being like this. I remember it being better than this, or I don't remember it being this mean, or something like that. Because I think our perception of what is mean in a game has kind of gotten more extreme because so many games now don't have any in it. It's a lot more pronounced when it does end up turning up in a game. But yeah, just anything that one of us has a problem with, or even games where, like, there have been quite a few that I've done videos for recently, like Transatlantic, or there was Riverboat, or something else I did one for quite recently, where I think this is quite nice, and I can't see a big problem with it. It had nice things going on. It looked nice. We quite enjoyed it, but don't really have any desire to go back to. And yeah, while it didn't have any big problems, at the same time, it didn't really jump out at us. And they have to go as well because there's so many that we do actively love playing that what's the point in hanging on to them just in case we end up finding something in them later on. Harry, have you converted your buddies or colleagues into playing board games? Buddies, yeah. But I think we kind of...
I think they were interested in board games and we just...
I think when we were watching
ways for them to become more into board games.
Yeah,
maybe.
I think when we started watching Tabletop, they watched it as well. So I remember being at friends' houses and we would watch an episode of Tabletop that we hadn't seen before, and so it kind of started at a similar time. But yeah, I think I'm the only one that went. I'm definitely the only one that went crazy into it. But yeah, to varying degrees, I think all of our friends...
Yeah, I know that one of our friends has got like a little gaming group at his workplace, and sometimes they play little games at lunch times, and they're like a little gaming group.
Have you not managed that at school yet, right?
Yeah, well, we just don't have time. Get about 10 minutes lunch.
Just teach them board games.
To play a game. But yeah, I think they're into board games from like their own back, really.
Yeah, I think we're quite different in the kind of games that we like, aren't we?
Yeah, definitely.
Amongst us all, we pretty much between us,
E.g.,
we pretty much cover.
They really like social deduction games, and always bring social deduction games to a gaming night. But yeah, I know that another one of our friends really likes, so like Dungeon Crawlers and likes Descent.
That's Dan. He was in there somewhere.
He was there. Whereas, I mean, we do like that kind of game, but we don't play it very much because we prefer other games.
Yeah, we're all about the dry, boring Euro games. Harry, have you played Railways of the World? Yes.
We played it quite recently, didn't we?
Actually, I lied about how many shelves we've got. We have actually got like an empty fireplace that's got all of the massive games in it as well. The bottom shelf of one of the shelves has all the Lisboas and things. The fireplace has the ridiculous, the Railways of the World, the Mechs vs Minions, those kind of things. Yeah, we played that quite recently, didn't we? In the last couple of months.
Yeah, it wasn't.
We played Railways of the World. Really, really enjoy that.
That was one of the times when you said, "What do you want to play?" and I said, "I don't mind. You choose."
Railways of the World.
You thought, "Well, it's a massive game. Let's get it out and cover the whole table."
Yeah, it is pretty crazy big.
And you really love games with trains.
Yeah, well, we saw You don't really get into the really heavy, like the 18xx games, those kind of train things. I realise the world is about as far as I need to go into the world of trains. But it's really nice building up your routes and things. And then we've got Russian Railroads, is a fantastic one,
Yeah, I do like
and
Russian
Snowdonia.
Yeah.
I'll go on and on about
Both
Snowdonia,
good
but it's
games.
brilliant. And Snowdonia, you're not like... Well, neither of those you're laying tracks or anything, are you? It's only Railways of the World where you're really building routes and things. The others abstract all of that stuff. Steve says 10 minutes at lunch. Fuse. Perfect, right? Do you think you could get the teachers into
I can't think
Fuse?
of anything worse than trying to have 10 minutes relaxation time
Playing a
before a nuts
real-time,
afternoon.
stressful co-op game.
And playing Fuse.
It'd be perfect for it. What if everybody ends up loving Fuse? That would be a good way to
all the
spend your
staff would
time.
end up hating each other.
They would end up melding into a well-oiled machine. So, I think we've caught up. We've been going for an hour and 17 minutes, surprisingly.
It's nearly time for tea.
Yeah, I have to start making food and stuff with it. It's not time for another Rise of Queensdale, Rich.
Probably not. You know, if there's a repeat of earlier on where it took longer to set up the game than to play the game.
Yeah, we suddenly unlocked a load of things at once after not doing it for a while.
And the game took like 15 minutes.
Yeah, the game was surprisingly short compared to the actual setting up. But yeah, I think we're caught up there. So for now, we will leave it there. I don't know if... I was thinking of maybe doing this again after the Kickstarter, after the result of the Kickstarter, however that goes, to like talk about options and things. Maybe it'll be Tuesday night. It'll just be me if it's Tuesday night, won't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe I'll have a little one on Tuesday night to talk about what's going to happen if I've decided by then. But we will need to talk about
the week if
we will need to talk about the future at some point to see what's happening to all of this channel and stuff going ahead. If you haven't seen the Kickstarter, then I'll do the link again because
why not?
Why not? Let's just do endless advertising for the Kickstarter. The link is in the chat again. I'll put it in the description of this video for when it goes up. Yeah.
Tell your friends.
Tell all of your friends if they've got some loose change.
Tell your neighbours.
They don't know where to put it. The Kickstarter. Yeah, if you haven't seen it and you feel like helping the channel carry on and go to bigger and better things and do more and more playthroughs and stuff, then I hope you consider having a look at the Kickstarter because you can get some nice rewards as well. You can get involved, be voting for the games. If you get high enough up, you get a special... You can be one of Marty's deputies. He's become a cowboy, but he's not here, so we can't really show it.
He's a pretty lazy deputy.
Yeah, he's asleep upstairs somewhere. I
did just see him.
This might be the first Q&A where he doesn't make an appearance because...
No, he's sleeping. I tried to disturb him, but
It's better to just leave him be. But yeah, Kickstarter, go and check that out. Maybe we'll be live briefly for a smaller one than this to talk about what's going to happen when we've kind of worked things out a bit more because, yeah, everything's up in the air right now. But hopefully, if maybe this live Q&A is really, really going to take off and all of these people will find out about the Kickstarter and it will jump right up. But on the off chance that doesn't happen, yeah, go and have a look at that page and help us out. So yeah, thank you for joining us, everybody. Even if you came after the fact, even if you're watching this back on pre-recorded lateness, thanks for watching. And up to this point, anyway, if you're watching this after the fact and you get an hour and 20 minutes in, you're one of the hardcore
dedicated
people. Yeah. So yeah, thank you for joining us, everyone. Thank you for your questions, and we will be back doing this at some point very, very soon. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Now there's the awkward bit after we said bye before I pressed the stop recording bit.